Good morning. It is Monday, August 22nd, 2022. Back here for Daily Shakeup number 577. And today, as you can see, the topic is trust. One of the newsletters that I read almost every day, and I look forward to it, is Seth Godin. Brilliant author and thinker, different thinker. And his message today was titled 5 True Statements We Don't Hear Very Often. 5 true statements we don't hear very often, and they are these. I don't care enough to do what you're asking. I don't trust you enough to hear you out. I don't believe it's worth what it will cost in time, money, or risk. I'm afraid of the changes it will cause. I don't believe that I'm the kind of person that can do this. And his point was that these are true statements, but we so rarely say them. And wouldn't it be fascinating and interesting and impactful if we were willing to just tell the truth? And his final suggestion is this: when someone cares enough to tell us the truth, this is the quote, perhaps the best response is thank you. Thank you. More often, we're going to be defensive, and these people are less likely, or maybe will never tell us the truth again. But these are true statements. And today I want to go take a little deeper dive into one of them, and it's about trust. Now, in Seth Godin's message, he said, the statement is, I don't trust you enough to hear you out. But the thing is, we know trust is vital. We know it's vital to relationships. It's vital to communication. It's vital to building teams. It's vital to leadership. And yet, and I've often said this, it is the scariest conversation, the one that we avoid, minimize, deflect from most often, because trust is the linchpin, right? Trust is the linchpin. And I think about this. If we all know how important trust is, why are we typically unwilling to directly address it and talk about it? And even more important, what's the impact of our unwillingness to confront our ever-present trust issues? I have put this forth before, I still stand by it, that every issue we see where people involved, to some significant degree, if not foundationally, the issue is a lack of trust. We have an issue with feedback. People are unwilling to give it, unwilling to receive it. That's a trust issue. We have an accountability issue. There's other elements of accountability, but the foundation is a trust issue. We have something going on between our teams where they're not talking to each other, or they're not relying on each other. We have a trust issue. I know that when I talk to any leader or organization, that we will find at the core of whatever other labels we put on the issues, it's a trust issue. And the thought of talking about trust honestly and directly terrifies us. What would happen if we were willing to have that conversation? A good friend of mine, a couple of months ago, we were talking about this issue, and he was having, I'll call it a disconnect, argument, disagreement, misunderstanding, whatever it is, with his wife. And he looked at her one day and he said, do you trust me to take care of this? And she looked him dead in the eye and said, no, I don't. He said that was one of the hardest things for him to hear, but it was the most important thing because that was the truth. And then they could deal with what was going on with her lack of trust. Now, this was not a massive issue. It wasn't a end the relationship issue. It was about a project. But her willingness, the courage she showed, the vulnerability to tell the truth, allowed them to now talk about what was feeding her lack of trust. How could he rebuild it? What was real about it? What was false about it? We struggle with trust. We don't talk about it. Typically, when we talk about it, we talk about how we break it. We typically break it in small ways, not giant ways. And how do we build trust? But we can't build trust. We can't repair trust if we're not willing to talk about it and acknowledge that the breaks are there. Trust is crumbling around us, and it's up to each one of us to rebuild that if we care enough, by being willing to be honest about it and to have that conversation. That's it for today on the topic of trust and our unwillingness or hesitancy to even talk about it. Keep taking care of yourself and everyone around you, and by all means, stay connected.